My 38F girlfriend slash fiancé insists that I, 35M, treat her like a princess, literally, 24/7. How can I make her understand it's hurting my mental state? Hi guys and gals. I'm in a bit of a mood RN as I am so confused as to what to do. I have been with my girlfriend for a year and a half and proposed to her recently. She has always had this sort of cute slash kid way of talking, but now it's becoming increasingly irritating. She has said, jokingly, in front of my friends and parents that she wants to be treated like a princess 24/7, and says things after that sometimes along the lines of, and I will never think of myself lower than ever again. Which is fine, I love her so I treat her very well and respectfully like any women should be treated. But now that this proposal has happened and I'm looking at kids slash spending the rest of my life with her, and in doing that I'm also starting to think that hey, she is an adult. Not a princess, and I shouldn't bow down to her and give up on putting my side of the argument because she's crying and saying, why am I making her feel this way? These are very benign arguments and it's usually something that you don't need to cry about all the time. And to top it all off, she's getting this awful diva mentality that if I did anything close to that as a male it would be 100% considered abuse. She absolutely refused to work and recently said that she wants to be looked after 100% of the time as it's the man's job to treat her bubby like a queen, and she says these things not in a cute sort of way but like a demanding sort of way. Add on to the fact she's now wearing plastic tiaras and fluffy Ugg boots all the time now, is making it really hard to see myself spending the rest of my life with her. Keep in mind this just started happening after she caught up with her old friends who are very much the same. I'm lost guys, how can I put this across to her that she's a goddamn 250 or so 38-pound-year-old woman and not a child anymore? Maybe I'm being out of line, but I swear this isn't how it's supposed to be. Saying it's the man's job to do these cliché things, but if I ever dared suggest to her to do some cleaning slash cooking around the house then I'm somehow a chauvinistic pig for saying that perhaps if I have to look after her princess then she may have to treat me like a king, which I think is ridiculous by the way. I, 25M, am divorcing my wife, 25F, after 5 years. We have 2 beautiful boys, a house, and a good amount of debt between the both of us. I caught her cheating on me with a very close friend of mine a few weeks ago while I was in a different state for work. She says she was high and can't remember if it actually happened or not. I don't believe this however, I also believe that it was an honest EF up by the both of them. For the last 5 years she has accused me of messing around on her and I haven't. She'd get mad when we'd watch TV and a nudity scene would pop up. Then go into accusing me of just watching the movie for the females. So I had to start looking at Parents' Guide before we watched any show or movie to ensure there was no nudity to make her feel better. We can't really go anywhere of interest because there's females who might be in better shape and wearing less than her, this is what's in her mind. I've done my best to assure her that she is gorgeous but it hasn't been enough even since we first got together. I feel like I've been locked down over the years for no reason while doing everything in my power to assure her that she can trust me. Between not being able to hang out with friends by myself because she's never trusted me nor them, to the unnecessary outbursts of anger and depression she holds in from her hard past life. I'm not perfect. I've lied to her last year about being at a bar because I knew she would freak out on me, but I thought I'd had enough of what I felt was emotional abuse throughout the years, so I'd consulted with a lawyer to discuss divorce, but we got back together before papers were signed. So here we are. I've caught her cheating on me for the first time, and I always said if I did, I would leave. It felt like enough to push me over the ledge to finally just say I'm done. But here's the thing. Everyone tells me how manipulative her actions are. The truth is, I feel like we're both manipulative to each other. I love our family, but I'm just at the point of feeling as if maybe we just aren't meant for each other after everything we've put each other through. I've come to a self-conclusion that only she can change herself and her view on life along with her view of how a relationship actually works. I feel that she looks at Hallmark movies as how a relationship should be, and quite frankly that's just not real life. I'm terrified of her moving on and becoming the woman I'd always wanted for someone else. I feel a load come off of my shoulders when I think of no longer having to deal with extreme jealousy and petty actions by her, but I feel like I'm not doing what's best for our boys. She's tried to guilt trip me with that since I've said the words divorce. We keep messaging each other contemplating about getting back together, but then it hits me again in the soul that I'm tired of this relationship. I've been tired. I work off for months at a time and come home wanting nothing to really do with her because of her past actions. She's a great mother and a great housewife. I've just felt for years now that even with all of that, if you can't trust me then why am I even here still? She's recently started going to bars since we spilt and getting hammered. Something that she couldn't stand to think about if it was me doing it. I've noticed she's started to dress with more revealing clothes since we split as well. I have been working in another state since I found out and will be going home in a week. I'm scared that we're going to wind up somehow getting back together and then me regretting that decision. She says she's going to cut all the jealousy out and she wants us to be that power couple that stops letting the little things get between us. But I've heard that before come out of her mouth the last time we got back together before she found out I lied about where I was at while we were separated, at the bar, and she completely dropped everything she'd promised. What should I do here? Forgive her and just go back to the possibility of it being the same? Or just call it quits? And before anyone asks, our sex life with each other is immaculate. There's absolutely nothing wrong when it comes to in the bedroom. This whole situation is breaking my heart because I know that she has no family to help her get through this. Or really even be there for her. I've been the only person that has rode it out with her throughout the years and I'm just tired and ready to let someone else give it a shot with her. Maybe she can find that true love elsewhere. But this whole situation is tearing me apart. Edit, the reason why I believe that she did cheat with him is because I seen the sexual conversation in her recently deleted text messages. When I confronted both of them, my wife said she can't remember because she was extremely stoned. He says he can't remember because he was drunk. But they both lied to me multiple times and made me feel confident that it didn't happen. It was until I started to press my wife harder about it did she say, I'm pretty sure it happened. Edit number 2, their actions also took place in my house. In my bed. And with my kids in the house. She's a stay-at-home mom and is completely dependent upon me. My 21F boyfriend, 20M's parents are so strict we can't even go out on a date, long post. We have been dating for a year and 5 months now. Before we dated, we used to be friends. And we used to go on spontaneous trips together. It went on even when we started dating. But a little before our anniversary, he got into an accident that led to losing his car. He's fine, no injury or anything, but the car is a total wreck. Because of that we can't meet as often anymore. He has to wait for his dad to come home so he can borrow his car to go to places. Because I was working when all those happened, we barely meet. I mean like once a week, compared to almost every day, minimum 3x a week. Ironically, he was going out more often with his friends during those times he can't meet me. He said it's the traffic from my place to his is bad so he can't come home quick on a short notice when his parents call. I endured all that. It went to a point where that one time we can meet, we planned to go to a beach for a night swimming. A spontaneous one. We went to buy clothes real quick for it. Funny, it was only 8 p.m. then, his dad calls and says come home. We were 30 minutes away from his house, and back of that call we couldn't go swimming. There was nothing so urgent ABT the call. Just his parents wanting his ass back home. After he dropped me I cried Beck until when do I have to be in the shadows? Can't even go out with him and stay late Beck his parents don't even know me. He can't even say, I'm with, my name, he'll be late. Now, 5 months after we lost the car, 2 months after he got a new car, it's the same old thing, but stricter. Ick why and how I'm supposed to feel anymore. I'm so mad ABT how his parents are so strict like he's fucking 20. Staying till 10 p.m. should even be something to ask for. I love this guy so much, but if now he can't draw boundaries ABT his life, dating and all, how can I possibly have a future WA person whose parents are in control of fucking everything about his life? Boyfriend, 22, defends a sex worker over me, 22F. A few months back, my boyfriend got a new coworker and he would tell me how a lot of the guys at his job flirt with her and think she's attractive. I didn't think much of it because I trusted him not to flirt with her. A few weeks go by and his best friend is apparently talking to her and by association he is now spending more time around her. Again it didn't bother me too much, I trusted him. One day he comes home from work and tells me that she announced that she used to be a dominatrix before she moved to where we live. Apparently she left to get away from her shit boyfriend and drugs. Which, I'll give her credit, takes a lot of guts to pack up and move halfway across the country. A few weeks pass and I start to notice that they seem to be messaging a lot on Snapchat. One night right after we finished having sex I looked over to see him messaging her on Snapchat and I rudely looked at the conversation. She was telling him about a guy she was talking to saying he was going to rape her and how it scared her and turned her on at that same time. That bothered me. Why talk about it on a social media app where the messages go away? Why tell that to someone you barely know? I did see his replies where he told her not to do that and that he didn't want to be involved in that situation. I let him know I was uncomfortable with them messaging on Snapchat, and to this day that is their main source of communication outside of work. Someone eventually came up with the idea that we should all hang out. So we all went downtown to drink and have some fun. I brought a friend with me because I was insecure about meeting this girl without someone in my corner, because I don't feel like my boyfriend is. The night was a shit show. When her and my boyfriend's best friend arrived, we all greeted each other and she did not say a word to my female friend or I for the rest of the night. Granted, we didn't say anything to her either. As the night went along, I was growing more and more uncomfortable and anxious. My very intoxicated boyfriend seemed to be spending more time with her than me. And every time I looked over, she was sitting next to him. At times he was supposed to be with me, he was sitting next to her. That night he even left me crying alone to spend the rest of his night drinking with her and his best friend. It was a huge mess and we didn't meet again until a few months later, which was 2 nights ago. There was a good time gap between our 2 meetings. Eventually, I accepted that she wasn't going to be going anywhere, so I would have to learn to like her. I told my boyfriend for a few weeks that I wanted to meet her and get to know her. I even told him I was looking for a new shopping partner in crime. But he never tried to arrange for us to meet. Then she flew back home, probably to go make some money at her old job, and came back with the news that she was moving back. 2 nights ago it was sprung on me that we would all be hanging out in a few hours, and I figured I had nothing to lose. She'll be moving anyways, and I was trying to trust my boyfriend more. I went into it with a significantly more positive mindset than I had the first time. My boyfriend, his friend, and I got there ahead of his other 2 friends and the other girl. We were sitting at a very loud bar and having a good time. When they got there, I was scooted to the corner of a booth where I wasn't able to hear most of what people were saying unless it was an intermission from the live music. Everyone had their heads turned in other directions, and I already have a hearing problem, so I wasn't the most comfortable in that situation. But I did talk when I could hear what was being said. I tried to talk to everyone that was there, including her. The whole night, even after we left the bar, she would be fully aware that I was speaking to her. I would make eye contact as I was speaking to her and she would look away. The only 2 times she did talk to me was when I addressed her in front of multiple people and she couldn't not reply. At one point during the night, the topic of sign language came up and she was trying to show everyone what signs she knew. And I corrected her because she signed slut and said it was bitch. I showed her the difference in the signs, and tonight when my boyfriend and I argued about it, he jumped on me saying I called her a slut in front of everyone, when all I did is show her the difference. Towards the end of the night we were all sitting on the beach and I went to the bathroom and stopped a bar to get water for my boyfriend and I on the way back. When I handed him his water, she started talking about how she likes the taste of other people's water better than her own. She continued to go on about how she always wants what she can't have, looking right at my boyfriend. And that bothered me, but he didn't even notice. But in every situation she's ever been brought up between my boyfriend and I, he has jumped to defend her, and there have been many. Throwing my insecurities in my face without even realizing it. I know I could be nicer when I talk about her, and for a while I tried. Before our second meeting, when I had finally decided to get to know her, I wasn't talking in a mean way about her at all. But every time I do say anything mean about her, which is usually me talking about my feeling in the entire situation, he jumps to her defense. He says that I let my insecurities get the best of me and that she never says anything mean about to him. But why would she say something mean about me to him when I'm his girlfriend? She's not dumb. She knows it wouldn't end well. Instead of trying to comfort me through my insecurities, he jumps on me to defend her. Every single time. I know I'm not innocent by any means in this situation, but why would it kill him to just see my side? Our relationship has been rocky these last few months. Our combined mental illnesses take a toll on us, and I feel like I'm just lost. My depression and anxiety are at an all-time high, and I feel like he's leaving me suffer alone, not just because of this situation. Again, thank you to anyone who took the time to read this. Cheated on husband a long time ago, admitted it recently. I need help moving on. Cheated on my husband during a very bad spell in our young marriage about 2 years ago. After telling him I had emotionally fallen for someone else, he said he wanted to work it out. I kept the fact that I had slept with someone else a secret and worked hard on our marriage and myself over the last 2 years to much success. We're both very happy. However, the repression and self-hatred was getting out of control, and after a suicide attempt, I admitted to my husband recently that the affair was also physical. He's forgiven me and wants to move on. I'm having a hell of a time forgiving myself. How can I accomplish this and begin to move on as he has? We've been in a relationship for 6 years, married for 2. M, 28, and F, 25, me. I had the affair a few months after our marriage. I believed he hated me for a forced marriage. My parents were very vocal about us getting married, to the point of making a scene at a Christmas dinner when we announced that we were moving in together. The next day, he proposed, and was generally miserable due to the state of our life, which I mostly thought was fine, sometimes fun, but no. He kept saying he hated his life, and I took that personally. I stopped attempting to look at the bright side of things and just allowed us to wallow in misery, even if things were looking up for us. I stopped believing that anything was good about us, and that we made a horrible mistake getting married. I found solace with a coworker. The affair lasted a month, with the first half being emotional, and the last half turning physical. During the time I was also habitually taking cocaine with another coworker. At first it was fun and games, then it turned to a numbing agent for the issues I was having at home, and later for numbing my actions for cheating on my husband. At home, I lashed out at my husband. If he was miserable, well, so was I. I chucked all of the happy moments that I had held onto out the window and was angry at him 24/7, to a scary extent. Thinking back on it now, I'm frightened at how dark I became. I spent his money, I yelled and screamed at him about just how miserable I was. I wanted him to leave me because I was too chicken shit to do it myself. Finally, I sat him down and told him I was in love with someone else. I told him it was my coworker and waited for his reply before I went on. Instead of the ire, he said he wanted to work it out. That he loved me and we could get through it. I was impressed and humbled that he still wanted me. I fell in love with my husband all over again in that moment, and all my actions became far too real to me. I made a choice at that moment that I'm still not sure was the best. I decided not to tell him about the fact that I slept with another man. Immediately after that conversation, I reinvented myself. I kicked the coke habit cold turkey, I cut off all contact with my coworkers, later left my job and focused on making his home life as great as possible. These last 2 years have been the best for both of us. He's working his dream job, we're paying off debt quickly and saving a lot of money, moved closer to the city to begin adventures, and we've had so many wonderful, truly wonderful moments. I initially decided to take this secret to the grave with me, never telling him but instead, dedicating my life to making our marriage work and becoming someone he could be proud of. About 3 months ago, I attempted suicide. Everyone was blindsided, but the repression of the secret was seeping out and my self-hatred was out of control. Even then, I refused to tell anyone, including my therapists, about the affair. I was put on medications, and after an especially positive, life-changing road trip that we took with friends, I knew I had been living on borrowed time. That no matter how happy he was telling me he was and how wonderful of a wife I was, I still robbed him of a choice of being happier without me. Last week, I told him that more had happened with my coworker. I can't erase the expression he gave me from my mind, and I don't think it will ever leave. Reddit, I hurt him so badly. I never, ever wanted to hurt him so badly. I was a fool to ever think this day wouldn't come, and a fool to have ever strayed. He's the best thing that's ever happened to me. His reaction was calm and controlled. After being silent for a while, he said he wanted to work it out, mostly over the fact that the last 2 years of our life were the best he's ever had, according to him, and that I had changed to a large degree from who I used to be. He wants to work it out, though not through couples therapy as I suggested, but by moving on with our current great life and not looking back. Essentially, he told me to keep doing what I've been doing, continuing with my therapy, continuing with school and my weight loss plan, and we'd be fine. Along with the repression of the secret, a backlog of self-hatred, regret and desperation had finally caught up with me. I was 5150D overnight last week by my psychiatrist as he feared I would hurt myself. His mother and my family found out about the affair through this episode, all of whom agreed with my husband. I should move on from this. I'm happy every time I see my husband after he gets home from work, when he wakes up in the morning, and his complimenting the fact that there's no growing dark cloud over my head anymore. My eyes are brighter, my smile is bigger. He believes this is the beginning of a greater chapter in our life together. Everything is better than expected, so why, when I'm alone, do I go insane? I cry non-stop over the fact that I hurt him, that I deserve none of this, that I've already lost him and it's only a matter of time before he leaves me. I'm frightened of the fact that he's stayed with me. I want to yell quite loudly for him to run away, far away, and quickly. I know if I don't get over these emotions, our relationship doesn't have a chance. I don't want to sabotage it anymore. Reddit, how do I move on? How do I begin forgiving myself? I 29 am potentially divorcing my 27F mother to my daughter. My wife 27F, and I 29M are headed down the route of divorce. Our relationship was fantastic, we loved hard and yearned for each other's company. Now we struggle to make it 2 days without a serious argument. We met in 2018 from Bumble, and immediately knew there was something there. We were both open about our baggage. I had trouble dealing with emotional issues from not moving forward after the death of my parents, and she had been cheated on and grew up rougher than some. Willing to work with each other, we set out. Fast forward 2 years, I begin to think about marriage. About 4 months before our marriage, we were going through a time where our jobs took us apart for 4 months. During this time apart, I began to watch pornographic material to appease myself. When she returned and found out I had been doing this, I was accused of cheating on her. I agreed to go to counseling to get help for cheating on her by watching pornographic material and to try and conquer some other ailing issues. I suggested the thought of couples counseling and was told, there's nothing wrong with me, you're the problem. We get married and I think things are finally great again. However, she begins to verbally abuse me sporadically. My job requires extreme flexibility, police officer, my work doesn't end exactly on the time allotted and I usually get held over 1 to 2 times a week. I began to get questioned why I was late or phone calls immediately after my shift was supposed to end. I would FaceTime her to show that I was still working, but she began to accuse me of cheating. I then gave her 24-hour GPS access of my phone, deleted all my social media in an attempt to quell her fears. I come straight home, don't associate with my friends or coworkers and don't leave the house. Now we move on till we finally get pregnant. We had both stated we wanted children and we're trying after marriage. It didn't take long, we were blessed. However, the verbal abuse and accusatory statements began to get worse. We bought a house and so we were renovating it ourselves. I did not move at the pace in which she demanded and began to get called a lazy piece of shit, good for nothing, freeloader. I would always try to de-escalate the situation and apologize to her. However, as we neared the birth of our daughter, she began to call me white trash, a deadbeat dad, and a useless partner. This continued to some degree almost daily. Now we have the most beautiful daughter. But she continued to ramp up the verbal abuse, giving me ultimatums stating that if I don't get this task done right now, she's ending our relationship because I'm not a partner. She begins to use my daughter as leverage, stating that I'm doing nothing for her. My wife is unhappy because of her body postpartum and with where we're at in life right now. She has days where I can't even rouse her out of bed. I constantly try to reaffirm her self-worth by providing her with positive statements and encouragement, and I'm met with the response of, shut the fuck up. This continues daily. Now to current events, we have been having an extremely rough week. Someone dear to me got diagnosed with cancer and the fights between us have been mentally debilitating. I refuse to ever insult her or attack her character, but she continuously attacks mine and calls me a lying cheater non-stop. Driving home from work the other night, I downloaded Tinder after being told I'm a worthless piece of shit and wondered what else might be out there. I had it send me a verification code, then sat there wondering what I was doing. I then deleted the app but did not remove the text. I then go out 3 days later after work with my supervisor and have a beer with him. I worked till 11 p.m. We finished work at 11:46 p.m. Not wanting to wake her and the baby, I go out. She then calls me at 12:42 claiming I'm cheating on her because I'm at a bar and she's driving out to catch me and the bitch. Excuse my language. I then get home that night. She continued to berate me and I finally fall asleep. She goes through my phone when I fall asleep and sees the verification code from Tinder, and it all goes south from there. She's now claiming that she's selling the house and moving back to New York with her family. We live in PA. I'm now lost because I don't know what to do. I've been fighting this uphill battle for so long and nothing is getting better, and I don't want to seem like I'm abandoning my daughter. I'm honestly on the edge. I drove home at 140 miles per hour last night, hoping I lost control and hit a tree. I know I'm not perfect, but I know this can't be what it's supposed to be like.